Hi guys.
Alright. Hi everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Coach and the Boss. Hi, ma'am. Is there any way you can keep it vertical because not able to see?
Oh, to keep it vertical?
Yeah.
Because our phone is on you.
Okay. Hi, Tulasi sir. Hi everyone. Alright. Just in the meantime, where they set up, I'll just give you a quick introduction of the session today. The new episode of The Coach and the Boss. We are going live with Great Goals Chennai today.
Sorry, because we're using a mic, we need a
It's
laptop.
okay. Yeah, that's okay. It's fine.
We're going to stand. We have to sit on the same side only, then this makes sense.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, perfect. Okay. Could you angle it a little bit down? Like a little lower? Yeah, perfect. Okay. That's it.
Drop it behind. Yeah. Okay? Yes.
Yeah, that's perfect. Alright, hi guys, welcome. Hello ma'am. So, before we start, so quick introduction. So, I am Mithila and I'm conducting this episode of The Coach and the Boss. We're here with the founders of Great Goals Chennai, Mrs. Priya Gopalan and Mrs. Sandhya Rajan. A very welcome to you guys. I'm so excited to talk to you to get to know more about the club, about how you started it and everything. Like Tulsi has commented in the first one, creating the pillars of Great Goals. So it's great. Why don't we just start off with a very quick introduction about you, about how it all happened, the journey of Great Goals as it is.
Okay.
So yeah, it's been 8 years. We started Great Goals in 2013, and it's been a wonderful journey so far. And why we started, I think it's because we believe that sport is very essential to a child's life, and what they learn from sport is a lot which they can carry through right through. And both Priya and I felt that it was important to inculcate this in children when they're young. And the younger you start, and the longer they travel with you, it holds them all through their life. So that's what.
Really, that's awesome. I really wish somebody said this to me when I was growing up. Okay, so
In fact, some of these things, when someone tells you when you're growing up, no, you'll say, I don't want to, I'm just going to play the sport. But then, without it becomes part of what you are.
Yeah, true. All right, so what? Yeah, I agree that like you did think about sport motivating kids and all of that. So, but why exactly football and basketball, and what led to the beginning? Just take us through the initial stages of Great Goals.
So hi everyone, this is Priya, and this is a question we get asked a lot. Why football? Did you play football growing up? I think we strangely enough, Sandhya and I went to the same school where there was it was a girls' school and with a strong emphasis on everyone playing something at least 3 times a week, and you could become part of the team thing. So I think it was inculcated in us that it was important, and two, we both have right now. Our boys are 17 years old. And they were a big reason that we started football, because they were both, will be obsessed with football. And so we thought that, like all good ideas, it starts with a need. So we said, our kids need to play football. We want to do it in a particular way. So let's start it off with that. But having said that, I think there are obviously many other parents who thought like us. And so that's how the program, we had mothers who signed up their kids just trusting the fact that if we were doing it, it would be done well.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's, grown to people we don't know. Just, it's just become something that people say, they care about your kids, so you can send them there, so.
Yeah. Okay, all right. So Tulsi sir has also commented that the only women to hold a professional club in all over the country. So that's actually amazing. Not a lot of women get into managerial roles. So honestly, you guys are an inspiration to me. So another thing is, so let's start off with how you manage the club. So how many centers do you have? Take us through how the coaching regime goes.
So we believe in a very organic way of growing. So, we started with in only one center, but then over the years, we've added centers based on the need and also where, to reach more locations across the city. So right now, we have about 6 centers for football and basketball. Pre-lockdown times, this is, of course, because, right now, we all the centers are shut, but we are doing online classes for those children. So, and we kind of spread it over the areas in Chennai. And some areas where we are not able to reach for certain reasons, we also have partnerships with some of those clubs because, because some of the players from those clubs do end up coming to Great Goals for the I-League teams, for the sub-junior and the junior. So right now, that's how it's going. And of course, we are always hoping to more and more centers.
Okay. All right. That's awesome. So another question is, you started off with all of these levels of the sport. So how did you manage to grow from a small, a number to so many centers? What exactly was the process of the growth? Yeah, I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah. So how we managed to grow. So we first started in the Koturpuram area, and that's where a lot of the kids who came to started at Great Goals. That was a area and when we started, because we were with young kids, we wanted to be in centers that were safe. So schools were the obvious choice for that. So and then then we said, okay, we have this part of the city now. Maybe our next center should be somewhere further down. So then we went to Kilpok. From Koturpuram, we went to Kilpok. And then from there, people it's a combination of as the place has to be safe. There has to be, people will say, why don't you start something in Nungambakam? Where will we go in Nungambakam? So it's been that way. And like Sandhya said before, it's always been very organic with us. For example, age groups. We started as an under 8 and under 10 football program. And then the siblings of the 8 and 10-year-olds were hanging out on field, the younger siblings. So then we had to say, the parents said, why don't you start something for them? So then we started our under 6. Then our 10-year-olds grew up. So we needed an under 12, so it's always been. So our first batch of graduates actually happened last year. And like Sandhya said, it's been, how we started our basketball program was similar. What sport do you want to play? If it's not football, basketball. Okay, let's see if we can do something with basketball. So it's always been responding to something. And it's always been, where does the opportunity come up? Does it fit what we want to do? Does it feel right? These have been some of the, criteria that we followed in starting anything new or going anywhere new.
Okay, that's super. So how did you go about the coaching regime? Like, how did you recruit your coaches? Who did people volunteer to come up, or how did the whole process start?
I mean, of course, the coaches are the backbone of what we do, right?
Exactly.
I mean, we can have an idea, but then finally to implement it, you need the coaches. And I must say, we've been lucky with whom we have and whom we've had. And, we've had an extensive training process. I mean, everyone who joins Great Goals goes through a training process, both also to handle children and to about football or basketball. So we have a curriculum. We follow a curriculum, a year-long curriculum. And we have, people who monitor session plans. We have coaches discussing. We sit in those meetings. And this has been an ongoing training process right from the time we started. And we also work with the coaches on how you deal with children, because remember, we're also dealing from the age of 4 to the age of 15, and each one of them comes with a different set of skill sets that they need. So, and like I said, they are the backbone, and we can't be where we are without them. So that's how we've gone through. We've had a fair share of good coaches, I must say, joining us.
I just want to add, Mithila, that we sometimes do an open call for coaches like that we are hiring, but our hiring process itself is it's not okay. We like you, we'll hire you. We have a need. It's more that you do an apprenticeship sort of thing with another coach who's been with us for a while. You're on trial for almost a month. So
and fit into the philosophy of what we do. I mean, I think it's very important for anyone, right? In whatever organization, wherever you are, you have to fit into the philosophy of that academy.
Exactly. That sounds very structured. It's really nice that you're taking the initiative.
Sometimes you're accused of being too structured, by the way.
But I think more structure is better than no structure at all. So I would always go for a high structure.
And I think that culture is changing in India, right? I mean, and I think it's important that we bring that culture in here. I mean, it's been there. People want it. It's not that people don't want it, but they're not used to it. And I think it's coming, and it's definitely we're all going in for a better. Thanks.
Yeah, you sort of gave into what the next question I was going to ask was. So, what is the cultural shift you've seen since you started to now, especially in how people view the two sports? Because India is, as we know, like very dominated by cricket, right? Especially when it comes to Chennai and Tamil Nadu, in fact. But now, if you, how much have you seen the growth in these two sports in particular?
Yeah, I mean, yes, we've had many people ask us why we're not doing cricket. But, there's a lot happening. And there is a shift, I must say. And from the time we started Great Goals to now, there is, like if you take football, the number of clubs playing the I-League has grown, which is a platform, a professional platform for the youth I-League, for the children, for the players, right? And that has changed in the last so many years. How many clubs are playing every year? The number is increasing. That's changed. And I think the awareness has gone around, right? And there are more and more players wanting to play. And I'm glad to see that's happening. And I think that comes to with things being more professionally run also.
And I want to add here, Mithila, that, when in the first year, I think we started Great Goals in 2013, and our first Great Goals football tournament was in 2015. And that year when we started, it was I think, possibly one of the very few, if not the only tournament in Chennai for non-schools. There are many school tournaments, but when we started it, then we were like, we had multiple teams from the same clubs coming, and we had 2 age categories, and the first year I think maybe we ran 48 matches in the one day, but last year it was a 2-day tournament. We had 120 matches, and we had 800 kids on the field over the 2 days. So for me, that signals not just the fact that the tournament has grown, but the appetite for football in the city has grown. And we have kids coming from all, I mean, when we started Great Goals, there were children from predominantly 2 or 3 schools. At last count, we had more than 50 schools represented in Great Goals, players from about 50 schools. So I think these are all little indicators that, sometimes schools don't have a football team. So it's not a sport in your school. But that doesn't stop children from now wanting to come and learn and be, because there are opportunities to do stuff. And I think also the baby leagues, the number of baby leagues in the city, the number of teams participating in baby leagues. For me, all of these are indicators that the football scene has shifted significantly in the 8 years we've been here. And I think I'd like to think we played a very reasonable role in shifting that culture also.
Honestly, I think you're underestimating yourselves. I'm pretty sure you played a very huge part in that, especially when it comes to the schools in the city, because like you said, even when I was growing up playing, there were no tournaments outside of school. Everything that we competed was always a school tournament. So to be a part of a club and to get that platform to play, that's really huge for young kids, because the only thing they see is those 4 walls inside the school. It's very limiting. So I think the more exposure that kids get, that's how much better they are going to grow, as players, as just people also. All right, this has been wonderful. Okay, let's take in a few comments coming in. Tulsi sir says this is a great initiative to bring in the platform for young generations. A lot of people commenting, wow, great, you guys are awesome. All right. So now in your coaching regime, you told us that it's very structured. They go through a program and all of that, right? Now, what are the levels of coaches that you have, like the AIFF certified? How does it work?
AIFF. So yes, we do have AIFF certified coaches, and based on the licensing, and we do have coaches in our in football, but we also have a few coaches who have joined us and then gone on to take on their certification. Because we believe that if they have an interest and they enjoy playing football and enjoy playing teaching children, which is very, very important, right? You can be a fabulous player, but you should have an ability to impart the knowledge. So we believe that's very, very important. You can have the license, but not really want to do something like that, right? So we've had people who joined us and then gone on to get their licenses. And so we have a mix of every kind of coach. Like I said, we have licensed coaches, and some of them have joined without licenses, but most of them go towards getting their license.
Okay.
And I said, we've been very lucky to have good guys work for us and females work for us.
Okay. All right. So coming to another very $1 million question, how is the women's program in Great Goals?
Women's program in Great Goals.
Yeah.
So, one of the reasons we started basketball was because we saw girls dropping out of football. And then when we delved deeper, there was a particular age band in which they were stopping to play. So we were amongst the first clubs in the city to start a girls-only program. It was called Just for Girls, and we started it, I think, in 2015 or 2016. But something very interesting happened. When we started training girls separately, the minute their skills and their confidence levels went up, they didn't want to be in the Just for Girls program anymore. They wanted to play real football, let's say, right? And so very soon they were integrating themselves back into the regular program. And so for us, that was like, here's something, we streamed them separately, and then, suddenly they want to be there. So it was very cool for us to see that happening. Because all they wanted was literally like I want a 3-month program where my confidence goes up. Really, that was all it was about. And so we offer it right now as a program for girls to sign into. They are still with the main class, but they are coached as part of the main class. But if their comfort level is only playing with other girls, then we create girls-only grids in the same fields. Rather than actually run a separate girls program. So, we have girls on our under-11 team, our under-9 team. So, it's that what we have done as a girls-only program has been a bit more in schools rather than in as part of Great Goals.
Definitely something which we both are passionate about. And we really need to work on it. I mean, that's one thing I would be frank about, something we should be doing more.
Yeah. I know. I would honestly love to see a Great Goals team in the IWL very, very soon. Because I echoed with everything that you just said, girls play until they get that comfort zone and then just let them off the leash and they're just all over the place, right? So that's exactly how it was when I used to play as well. There are a lot of girls who had that, they were shy and all of that, but then once they really get the hang of the skill, that's it. That's all you have to do for them. Right.
And Mithila, I think we need to hold you and Pavitra and all of you up as role models, to these girls, saying, look at the amazing things you're all doing, right? And it's not just about playing with, it's just the confidence, it's the, it's the panache with which you do things in life, right? So I think that's inspiration, should be held up as inspiration to more and more girls. I wish they see you all and,
No, honestly, thank you so much for saying that, because after, I started playing football and everything, I didn't think I needed any more motivation to continue, because that was it. It that was all I needed. Right. Okay. So Mazhar sir is also here. He's saying great to see 3 ladies discuss football. That's awesome. A lot of Great comments coming in. Okay, so here we have a first question. Nitya wants to know that if Great Goals follows any criteria in recruiting coaches. Very similar to
What
your
we
previous
said
answer.
earlier. So
Yeah.
we said, right, I mean,
Yeah.
we do recruit coaches, and with coaches, yes, knowledge of the sport, but I think for us, it's very, very important about how you are with the players and how you're able to impart that knowledge to the players. So we do, like Riya said, sometimes it can seem like it's quite intensive, but they do trial coaching sessions, and then they have to fit into the philosophy of great coach.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. Madhasa is also saying that it would be having a just for girls Great Girls tournament would be a great start.
Yes, of course.
We'd love to do that. We'd
Yeah.
love to do something like that. Run just for girls.
It's like last year we did try, I'll be honest, but we didn't have enough
Mhm.
entries. But there's something which we're going to
Okay.
constantly work at, and we're not going to give up
Mhm.
on it.
Okay.
And in the
Uh,
meantime, any girls listening to this, want everyone back on field, please let's start just getting the girls playing together, getting
yeah.
more and more opportunities.
Practice matches, mini leagues, or something like that. It's just to give them an opportunity to play.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Very similar. So now you're saying that girls are a little shy to come forward. There are a lot of issues that way. In schools, is it the same issue? Is it the same cycle that goes around us too? Like why girls? What is the reason? I mean, just the inhibition that they don't want to get out onto the field. Is there anything else you've noticed?
I think one of the key problems is that boys and girls are physically different at age 9 and 10 and 11,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I think that if we are able to overcome that, I think the problem is sorted to a large degree. Boys also get competitive much faster than girls get competitive. So, the girls, I at least in our experience, we found that they're like, they're constantly saying, why didn't you score? Why did you miss that pass? It's very annoying. So, but that's at
Yeah.
9 years old. It all evens out at 11 to a large extent. So,
Yeah.
I think that might be one of the key things. It's not. I'm not even saying there's. I've not done any research into it. This is just what we see on our fields, purely based on what our experience is.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, so another very, very important question coming in. How important do you think spreading awareness to uh, parents among including girls child in sports is?
I think
Right.
it's very, very important. I mean, it's whether it's a girl or a boy, anyone right now. I think the parent involvement is very, very important, and that's something which Priya and I strongly believe, and all of us at Great Goals believe that it's important that we work as a community together. Because, like I said, a sport is very important in what he or she takes forth in life, and whether it's a boy or a girl, and
Yeah.
that's one of our missions itself in Great Goals. And the parent has to buy into that, right? Because it's the parent who's going to
Yeah.
make some of the decisions for a child when the child is younger. And once the parent buys into that philosophy, and that's what we have at Great Goals. I mean, even with the lockdown, the number of kids who are coming to our online classes, it's more because how important the parent feels that it's important for the child to have that sport in that person's life. So the parent buy-in is very, very important, and that's one of Priya's and my roles actually at Great Goals is to keep parents involved, to keep them educated, to keep them aware on what all this could do for your child.
Absolutely. Perfect. Okay, so Tulsi is also adding that if there was any women's tournament to happen, they are very, very glad to collaborate with Great Goals and carry on
Any
the same.
what, Mithila? Sorry.
Any tournament
Okay.
that happens
Thank you.
as a part of the girls circle. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's get into the next section of the Coach and the Boss series. So now, it's obvious we're all in lockdown. How is it like? How has it been since the lockdown? How is the club adjusting to it? How are the players, the parents? Just take us through the whole cycle.
First of all, we are missing the players. We're missing being on the field.
Yeah.
I absolutely feel it when I see all these people being sad that they're not playing. I mean, as much as the players.
Yeah.
What are things? How do we keep them playing? right? So that's how we started our online classes. I think 2 days after the lockdown started, March 26th or 27th,
Yeah.
we went with our first Zoom class. I think for me, what's been incredible, and I think also is that how quickly kids adapt to technology. And also, there's also always a concern that they're staring at the screen or a screen all the time.
Ma'am, just a second. I'll just gonna stop you a little bit. The voice is cracking a little bit. Um, If you try saying that again, because I'm not able to hear you very clearly. I can't hear you. I'm not getting any voice.
Can you hear us now?
Yeah. I can hear you.
So we were all concerned, and parents were also concerned about the how much screen time. But then we realized pretty much that the child is really not staring at the screen for so much time. There's so much physical
Okay.
activity happening, and as long as you can keep the activity engaging and kind of explain and get the child going along, we were able to kind of reduce the amount of screen time. And I have to commend all the coaches at Great Goals for doing a fabulous job, because they had to think out of the box. It was Priya and I gave them the idea and said we have to do something, gave them inputs, and they've all worked very hard at lockdown at their respective homes with whatever internet connection they had, and come up with thoughts, come up with ideas, improvise it every day, so that it's constantly keeping them interested, the players interested, keep them learning, keep them engaged, and that's what's been happening. Anything else, Mona?
And it's it has been hard. Let's not kid ourselves that this period is not hard. And we are only doing the best we can under the circumstances. Keep kids active, motivated, and in touch. And so we are seeing this whole period as how can we focus on getting everybody's individual skills better.
And how can we keep them motivated and get them, get even their fitness levels at a very high level, so that when we get onto the field, they're ready to hit the ground running. So that's also important, right, for a player. I mean, if they are even a 1 month break does a lot of damage. So we want to ensure that when we're back on field, they're all set to go.
And they should be safe as well.
That is, we've also realized online class takes a lot more planning than a class on field, because you can make adjustments based on how your class is reacting on field, but it's much harder to do, when you have a couple of coaches, how they tag team together on the field is different from how the communication becomes so key. So the amount of time that actually goes in session planning, we break down our session into like 5-minute blocks now.
Okay.
For the online class. So down to the minute of when are they taking water breaks, it's...
So, I mean, it's really a lot of planning, because, like coaches are also, we have about 2 to 3 coaches per every class. They're sitting in different locations, and they've had to keep the children. And, like I said, the player is always first for us. And how do we keep them, completely motivated?
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think one of your coaches, Pavitra, has commented saying exactly she agreed to whatever ma'am was just talking about. Okay, so just you were saying, it's not going to be hard. We always think about the players first when you're running a club. You always think about what it is that you're doing. But let's get very, very real here for a second. And how is it that you, as a part of the management of the club, how exactly is it that you're balancing everything here right now?
Because you can't hear you very well.
Oh yeah. Okay. Just a second. Yeah. Can you hear me now? Is it better? Is, I can't hear you at all. Guys, if you guys are viewing this, can you guys? Yeah, sure. Can you hear me now? Is it better? Um, just a sec. Yeah, I think there's a small issue with the. Yeah, I think there's a small issue with your internet. It's buffering a little bit.
Yeah, it's
Guys,
buffering.
if you're viewing this, could you just give us a thumbs up if you can hear us, or just let us know what the issue is? It's fine?
Yeah.
Good.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Yeah, so I was asking you now, yeah, we always put the kids first. We always think about how it's going to be for them. But let's get very real from a management perspective here. Uh, how are you dealing with this lockdown? How is the club overall dealing with this lockdown? Because yeah, we all adapt, we all take up Zoom classes or online classes, whatever it is that's out there. But it must definitely be hard, going through this entire phase as founders of a club. So how is it that you are dealing with this? What what are the processes that's going on there? Um, Ma'am, would it be okay if I reconnected you for a second there? Because I'm not able to hear you. It's breaking a lot. Yeah. Guys, I'll just reconnect them. 2 minutes. I have some small issues there. Please stay online. This is a very, very interesting Q&A. Just waiting for them to reconnect. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comment box below. I'll make sure to ask them all of the questions. Okay.
Hi, we're back.
Hi. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So
It's all
you're
good.
coming to your question. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
So
Perfect.
yes, it's been hard. We've had our ups and downs,
Yeah.
but I think we've all been optimistic that this too shall pass. And this is something we believe in this. We believe in what we're doing, and these are tough times. It's tough for everyone. It's not that we are alone in this battle, but everybody is
Definitely.
facing the same thing. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to be lying when I say, every day I'm like, oh, it's a great day. There are some days which
Yeah.
you feel, oh my God, I wish I was on the field. Oh my God, all of that.
Yeah.
But then I think it's been good because we've all been connected together through the lockdown. We've been working through the entire lockdown, and like Priya was saying, our working has been tougher during the lockdown because we've had people in different places, some with poor connectivity, trying to make sure things are going on, and all our coaches have really pulled their weight. So I think being connected and being involved all the time has helped us, go along with what we're doing.
And from a
Okay.
business perspective, obviously it's taken a hit,
Definitely.
just from as a soccer club, a football club,
Yeah.
enrollments will be down. You can only do so much online and all
Yeah.
of that. And parents have concerns about screen time and what are they really going to learn online. So we also have to be creative about ways in which we can, communicate it to parents, be creative about what we do in our class, and just keep hoping and pushing pushing harder and hoping it's going to resolve itself and we can all be on field and back to whatever is the new normal soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Here's another question from Mazhar sir. Any assessments that you've taken during this period? For the
Any
kids?
assessments that were taken
Yeah.
during online? Assessments of the players or for the?
The players, yeah.
For kids who are on in our, we have two streams, right? One is the soccer schools and one is the teams. So
Yeah.
in the teams, we've been doing assessments with our players now. They've just this past week we restarted classes for the June term, and we've started doing assessments on fitness. But every term, we always at Great Goals, I think for the past 3 years, every player who finishes a term at Great Goals, a 3-month quarter at a 3-month cycle at Great Goals, gets a report card. So,
Okay. Wow.
and that looks at all aspects of the player. It looks at the technical, physical, psychological, social, and if they played as part of a team, they're tactical also. So all 5 dimensions are looked at. So every child gets a report card in their inbox at the end of a term. So that's an ongoing assessment of the player, and here we're doing much more specific, measurable kind of assessments on fitness and those kinds of things. We've started doing all that now.
Okay. What do you think the reaction of the players is? Are they responding well to these online classes, or do they get bored very easily? What is the difference that you're seeing from coaching them physically in the ground as compared to these live classes?
It was interesting you asked me, because we did speak about it last week. Not every child adapts and wants the online class. Obviously some of them feel that, the playing on the field is better and they want to be there.
Yes.
But we've had this particular few groups of players who've been coming to us online whole of May and April. And last week we were talking about them, and we've said there's been a tremendous improvement.
Wow.
Because we have also been able to work individually on a player, right? Because individually the player is on the screen, and we have many people looking, and there are no distractions. And some of them thrive. Some of the players thrive on this individual attention. So that has been my biggest surprise, actually. Some of the players, the improvement that we've seen, from April to now and where they are really, really shown a big improvement. It's been a big step for them, and I think that's tremendous.
And I think one of the things we are also getting better at is, part of the reason children come on field and enjoy the experience so much is that the social experience is very positive. Right? You're playing with your friends, you're playing with your peers, you're playing with your team. So we're trying also to find little things to how can we recreate that in our online classes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, like
how do we make team challenges, that kind of thing. So
definitely, yeah. So Tulsi sir has also said online classes is a completely different task, because even he's been conducting a lot of online classes for his own academy as well. So a lot of coaches echoing with your sentiments. So and your coach Pavitra has also said that they've improved a lot their techniques.
From a 5-year-old to about 15-year-old, we can see the difference. I can really see the difference.
And I think even from a coach's perspective, I think, and Pavitra will agree, and anyone else who's running online classes will agree, we have to be so much more specific in the kind of instructions we give online. And so you're becoming a better coach in the process, because you're actually breaking down a technique into its minutest detail that can be communicated. So it's no longer make contact with the lace part. It is, where is your lace part? How do you make the contact? The right angle. You get into the nitty-gritties of meeting that objective. And I think that and we've seen that across the board, like, how from our first class to even now, our coaches have become so much more specific in how they communicate. And the players are responding to that specificity.
True. I think it's been a huge learning curve for the coaches as well. Because even I'm also speaking from a coach perspective at this point, you need to get very, very specific in what it is that you're trying to convey. So you start working on how you describe something as simple as passing a ball. So it's been a huge learning curve for everybody, I think, at this point. All right. Okay, here's another question coming from Sir. Have parents become better coaches?
Parents are always good coaches.
They're the sideline coaches.
They're the sideline coaches, and of course,
the mother's question.
Compared to on field where they're not there, lots of parents are there, right, in the same space when you're team. And I think they realize how important and how hard it is. And I think they also buy into this, the fact that, how kids have been, how much their children are learning. And hopefully they should, and we do have sessions where the parents join in the class and, play with their child or with, the younger age groups especially. So, yes, and like I said earlier, it's very, very important for the parents to buy in and trust the intent of what the academy is doing.
And I think this is a great opportunity to be able to communicate that, because they're there pretty much, at least in April, they were all there in the house watching the child. So they understand a huge part of what we are trying to do in the class. And I think that's very positive.
A lot of people responding to that one particular question. Everyone's saying now kids are more comfortable and confident because they're encouraged and appreciated. Hal. Pavitra is also saying that parents are good referees as well. So yeah, that's another angle. So, and some people are saying parents might have even become better players. So
parents might also now understand how tough it is to play, right? It's just it's not as easy. Everybody wants their child to be a striker. Everybody, even how to make contact.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful that this will also change the kind of questions we ask as parents when our kids come home from a football game or a football practice or a training, that, it will no longer be how many goals did you score or how many goals did you save. It'll be like, what skills did you use? How many assists did you make? How many, passes did you get right today? You're a little more informed, I hope, as a parent now. And, I am certainly when I watch my son play. So, it's...
That's great, because it actually shows that the community as such is involving more in the sport. So instead of just focusing on the goals and saves or how many goals you scored or conceded, they're actually talking about what is happening in the game as well.
Yes.
So that's wonderful that you're actually pushing parents to think this way. It's really great.
And it comes back to what you said. Now, how is the culture changing in the city?
Oh yeah.
The first question. I mean, I think that's where the culture will change, when we get more and more adults involved in what their child is doing.
Very true.
And if there's ever an opportunity for that, it's now. So,
yeah, very, very
silver lining always. So,
yeah, definitely. So, like we face a lot of difficulties from parent side, and now we're talking about how culturally it's shifting. Do you face all of these same difficulties from schools as well? Because teachers are constantly behind kids' back, like principals constantly behind them to finish their midterms, their half-yearlies, etc., right? So, in an aspect of studies and sports, how is the journey?
It's some time ago, I don't know how many of the people on this Instagram live were also on one of our U15 Youth League players was live on Goal Quiz. And I think he answered that question beautifully. He says one of the things he's learned playing the sport is balance. And I think that's something we emphasize a lot, especially, I think it's across all ages that, you have to, yes, you're playing this sport, but you have school, you have school work, you have tests, you have school programs, you have annual day, and all of these are very important to an overall perspective and overall development of a child. What are you learning through all this? Yes, you might be learning history, geography, math, whatever, but you're learning collaboration, balance, focus, being a team player, whether it's you're part of a dance in your annual day or you're singing a song or you're playing on a football team. All of this goes towards building the whole package of what childhood should be about. And I think we're very, very aware of that, and we're very aware that we are a piece, and we like to think a key piece in what all of that is, because finally it is, at Great Goals, our mission is, how does a child aspire, or any player who comes to us, how do they aspire to and push their abilities to the maximum so they set and achieve greater goals? And I think the balance piece between all the pulls and pushes in even a very young child's life, how do they balance all of that? And some of the balancing the parent has to do, some of the prioritizing, but as they get older, they have to do. And especially the past couple of years, Youth League and board exams have dovetailed. So it's been interesting to help our players, prioritize and understand that both are critical.
True, very true. Yeah, so following up on that answer, a lot of people are saying, Mazar says academics and sport go hand in hand. Here's another question. Nihal wants to know how kids feel after every class, online and on the field. I think it's very similar to what you answered before. So how is it the kids respond?
I think kids are very resilient, and they're there because they love the game, they love the sport.
Yeah.
That's why they're
Yeah.
there, and I think we're all there to make sure that they enjoy the experience. We want them to have that positive experience when they walk off the field, right? So
Yeah.
they're quite happy, and they're very happy whether they're on field and online also now. And like we were saying, we're always trying to keep how much can we keep them motivated, keep them going at the sport, and I think that's what's been happening.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, that's actually been a very, very interesting interview. I've had so many questions that I had in my mind when I wanted to start off this interview. So many of them are answered right now. So another very, very important thing is now, as women coming into a managerial position, holding, you guys are basically rock stars at this point. So how I'm not
Surprised this
even
question
kidding.
didn't come.
It's usually the first question, Mithila. not the
Yeah, but I
last.
wanted to. No. Yeah, I know. I mean, it is very cliche. It is always the first question that any woman I know who's been in a field that's not considered her or her own turf or whatever it is. So that's always the first question, right? So I wanted to normalize it a little more. Take this question probably in the end a little bit.
Yes, sure.
So yeah, yeah. So yeah.
So-
So what is it that you guys have gone through? I mean, obviously, when you guys wanted to start off with a sports club, a lot of people would have had questions. So how is your journey?
Yeah, so the journey has been incredible, I must say, and it comes with its advantages too, being women. Because
Yeah.
so the thing is, yes, I mean, we were not considered serious enough initially. I would be, when we
Okay.
started Great Girls, it was just like, oh, these
Yeah.
two women running something for children, two
Yeah.
housewives, two mothers. That was the perception. And we got started taking seriously a little later, and when they saw how we were doing and how it was run, the professionalism is important, right? That's what finally matters, and it shows. And so then it broke away that stereotype of two mothers, and then they saw how hard we work. So it was no longer a hobby or a pastime. It was meant that, okay,
Yeah.
these are very two serious women who want to make a difference. And
Yeah.
Then
yeah,
they thought that we'll only run Great Goals till our boys finished playing football.
They saw-
They graduated 2 years ago, so we're still here.
Yeah.
So,
still here, and I think it's been, then, and after some time, it doesn't matter whether you're a woman or a man. I mean, it's like, okay, we are all here in the same purpose. At some point, yes, people will, probably offer us a seat when we walk in because we're women. But other than
or
that,
we get the first tee.
or we get the first team maybe.
Okay.
But and then of course we're noticed maybe because we're two women. But after that, I think it has not made much of a difference. I mean, now we're all here with the same objective of
Yeah.
what we can do with the sport, and
Yeah.
that's so we are. So yes, I mean, two women who have nothing to do with the sport before. It's not that we've played football before, pre-athletes has played basketball before, but
Yeah.
what are we doing here? It was it was just that finally they all realized that what, these are two serious women.
And
who
it's a
want to-
serious football club.
It's a serious football club.
Yeah.
I mean, they play in the
Absolutely,
I League.
yeah.
I mean, and everything is run professionally. And I think that perception, and in fact, we've had people say, women actually do things better because they're much more serious. They're much more
Yeah.
organized.
All right. Perfect. So that was awesome. Another question that's coming in is: do you think Indian parents are ready to gamble their kids' futures on sport alone as a career path, or do we have to wait a few more years to see that?
See, it's not only about Indian women, Indian parent. It's a
Yeah.
phenomenon world across. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not something which you just see here. It's just that we're here, and then we see more people playing, the European leagues and the English league and everything. So because there are way more opportunities there, right, compared to.
Yeah.
So everywhere across, a parent's concern, and I'm a parent, Priya is a parent, there is a concern that, what happens if the child has an injury? What happens, if
Yeah.
you can't take it to the next higher level? So I think it's a phenomenon which is all across the world, and it's not just something typical. It's just, and again, it's just not about the parent. Does the child have the gumption to take it forth? Because the moment you want to play professionally, the moment you want to take it seriously, the amount of time, the amount of practice, the amount of sacrifices that you have to give is immense.
Yeah.
And you have to be ready to take that road. The child or the player has to be ready to take the journey. So I think
Very
that's
true.
what is very, very important, because to take your sport to the next higher level involves a lot of challenges, a lot of sacrifices to be made.
And so,
Very,
if you were on the webinar, for those of you who were on the webinar with Ivor Gum about 2 weeks ago when we did it, this was one of the questions he got about Indian parents. Everywhere, parents want, the sports career path to be great stardom. But I think, if you train, if for every coach also, that's their aspiration, that at least, one of their players. But you know what, if you have 1 lakh kids playing, maybe 25,000 of those kids will play it even at a college level, or at the next level. Maybe at college there's still 50,000 playing, but maybe 25,000 are playing it at the next level, and then only about 1,000 are at the national camps and that kind of thing. So it's a very, very steep pyramid suddenly. I think what are and that's a huge part of what Sandhya and I do at Great Goals, is in our efforts to communicate and build that community around with parents. It is that let's look at what playing a team sport is actually giving your child, giving the player.
Yeah.
I mean, you played for state. You know what all. I mean, even whether you continue playing football or not, you know what playing that sport
What
has
it
done
takes
for
in
you.
fact. Yeah.
And what it takes. Not every child has, like Sandhya said, doesn't have the gumption or the appetite. You go to 2 trials, you're like, I can't deal with this. You know, there are some who just say, okay, that's not for me. But others who say, you know what, I'm going to make it. And you have to have that fire to do it. And sometimes even that fire and the effort and the commitment is not enough, because luck plays a thing. So like I said, that pyramid suddenly gets very narrow on the top. And but we have to focus on what all you can get out of playing this. And it's focus, it's commitment, it's dedication, it's discipline, it's that fighting spirit, it's the never say die, it's the collaboration. I can go on and on this list, but that's really what finally this is all building in you. And it's not the only thing that builds it in you, but it builds it really well.
Yeah, very good. That was actually one of the most articulate answers I've actually ever heard on the competition, of the reality of how it gets hard in sports very suddenly, in fact, because you start off as a kid saying, hey, one day I'm going to play for India, and then the next time you're in a trial, and you get so anxious, you get so nervous, you don't know what happened to your skills. So you realize there's so much more you need to learn and grow as a player, right?
And the trial is that one shot, right?
Exactly.
It's if something you're off that day, then that opportunity is gone. Which is why when we do our youth league trials, you're actually on trial for a month with us.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah. So when we do open trials, we shortlist players, but we also say come back, and then you're not just on trial for your talent, you're also on trial for your commitment, your discipline, on all of those, because it's a short window. We have to, and we believe that what we can, help the player with is a lot more. If we can put our expectations out there right in the beginning,
Yeah. Very true. Okay, here's another question from Nihal. So, what is the most joyful and memorable moment on being a part of Great Goals for the both of you?
Every day
Can
is
you point
wonderful.
out one moment like that? I think that's going to be really
I know. Each time, and for us, every child, it's like, so some people say, oh, is it the youth league, the 15-year-olds playing, or is it the sub-junior, or is it, the under 9, or is it the under 6? Every child, it's like every class, there are moments, everything is, it's very hard to classify this. There's sometimes a child who would have cried the entire term, would have not wanted to enter. And then you see the child is just flowered. That is a very joyful moment. You see the, youth I-League team struggling with thing, and they play a fabulous match. And, that is a joyful moment. I mean, I can...
Anything, even at our baby leagues, the 7-year-olds, like suddenly you see, it's like Sandhya said, it's many little moments. Right? But most of all for me, it is when the children say, please extend the class 5 more minutes, I don't want to go home.
Yeah, that's
That happens all the time.
All the time. So
Yeah.
it's brilliant.
Nihal is asking
What is he asking?
which is your
Yeah.
favorite age group?
Yeah, I think
You
the
can also
question is
answer it,
getting
Nihal.
a lot more specific. Yeah.
You know, that's what it's very hard to say favorites at this point, you know, because
Yeah.
every age group comes with its particular charm, with its particular, you know, something which is very fascinating. And, you know, and that's
Yeah.
what I feel. And the thing which I miss most is going on the field right now to see all these players out there. And sometimes we're there on a Sunday morning at 5:45, you know, on a Sunday morning, and you see this energy which the players have. It makes you
Yeah.
forget all your worries.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think also over the years,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
especially at the competition, even from the other clubs, we've sort of, we know the other players also now, right? Because they've, especially the younger age
ecosystem
group,
is kind of everyone around, right?
we know players in the ecosystem. So it's
Yeah.
fun to also know. And I think for me, it's also to just watch them grow as
In front of you.
humans, as you know, just physically grow as humans and as players.
Yeah.
It's really cool to watch that.
Yeah, very true.
There is
Yeah,
no
a lot
specific
of-
answer to that question.
Yeah, I know. All right. So I think we're coming in on like the last 5 minutes because
Sure.
there's a limit, 1 hour limit on the live.
We've been in there on 1
Yeah.
hour, okay.
Almost.
Wow,
yeah,
this
I
went
know,
very
this is-
quickly, Mathila. Kudos
Very,
to
very
you on that.
Thank you so much. I think it's all your answers as well. I think it's very inspirational, you know, having you over. So exactly on that note, you know, a lot of people, a lot of women and girls, in fact, and I'm going to include myself in this. So being a sports person and actually coming into, you know, having an aspiration of becoming a sports management professional. So how, what are your words for them? You know, what are you going to say to them to, you know, go along that path?
Tough one. You know, it is. My personality, and I'll speak from my own personal experience, is
Yeah.
if I don't love it, don't do it. Right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a big believer in eventually in life, your passion, your, you know, your passion, your profession, your training, and what gives you the bread, what puts bread on your table should all come together. And
Yeah.
I think, you know, so for me, I would say, if you love being on the field, if you love playing, because sports management and playing are two very different things.
Very,
Management
very
has egos, management has finances, management has organizations, and management has, you know, a lot of little details that as a player you might find very confining. I would say become an intern somewhere, do run a couple of events, see if this appeals to you. I mean, but I know that if you do this, you are making such a huge difference. If you do it well, you'll make such a big difference in somebody's life,
Yeah.
you know, in a set of players' lives. So I would say, if that's what you want to do, go for it. And there's, you know, I mean, you asked us this question, what made us start this football club? Who would have thought? I mean, if you'd asked me 10 years ago, I was an urban planners and there was a IB teacher. And if you
Wow,
said in
okay.
10 years, you're going to be running a football club and, you know, all you'll be talking every waking moment is which child blossomed how. But you never know if something clicks, if something feels right. It has to feel right, and you have to wake up every day saying, yeah, I'm going to work. You know?
Yeah, exactly. All right. This has been one of the most interesting interviews that I have ever been a part of. So thank you so much for, you know, coming ahead in this platform, giving us a chance to, you know, talk to you, like giving out your knowledge to the world. So like Mazhar sir says, these two women are two ladies who made their mission statement a reality. That's honestly true. You're very
Thank
inspiring.
you. Thank you, Mazhar.
Thank you, Master.
So yeah, we have 30 seconds left. So I'm just going to wrap this interview up saying thank you so much for being a part of this. It's been great learning from you, you know. So yeah, thank you guys.
Fabulous video.
Fabulous. Very nice.
Yeah.
And it was actually It felt like really a conversation. Didn't feel like an interview, Mithila. And that's
That's
thanks
Thank
to
you,
you.
ma'am.
Yes.
We've had a
Yeah,
great
thank
time.
you so much.
Thank you.